Okay, ladies and gents, it's time for Rage in the Cage.
Finish him.
So strap in and join the fight in the comments below. Pick a side, Team Marq or Team J. Who will it be?
Rage in the Cage is back, the first one of 2021. Here we go. Team Marq, Peppermint versus Team Scrye. District 9 versus Team J. Joker. Adam, you are our guest. Throw the first punches. Let's do it.
All right, so District 9. Okay, so apparently Chat Shay says it came out in 2009. This was his debut feature film that he made. I believe it was also produced, it also ended up producing the movie, the same people ended up making and producing Chappie and a whole bunch of other stuff, but this movie is one of the most interesting alien human stories I've ever seen, because I don't know if you guys have seen it or not, but you have this, it's got this idea of this alien spaceship hovering above Johannesburg, which is in Africa, right? First off, the setting, when do we get to see Africa as a setting, right? So that was like really cool for me. And the prawn, which are what they call the aliens, are like basically held up in concentration camps. They call it District 9. And there's all this different stuff going on. And ultimately what it is, it's kind of like a story of Exodus, right? And the main human protagonist essentially undergoes a change and becomes a prawn and helps them escape their bondage. Well, at least most of them anyway. There's still a bunch that were left behind. But it was just a really interesting take on human cruelty, there's just so it gets really deep. It just gets really, really deep with a whole bunch of different things. You see like the baby prawn, and like it's just, I don't know. I thought it was really good, and it's a movie that I'll watch at least a couple times a year, to be honest with you. And it leaves you on such a cliffhanger at the end, because the main human protagonist he changes into an alien. His DNA gets mixed and stuff like that. He changes into an alien, and it just kind of like, I think he dies. I can't remember because it's been a while since I've seen it. I think he dies, but there's hints at other people being changed, and maybe even some of these people that they have in these concentration camps, some of these aliens are actually humans that got changed into prawn. So there's a whole bunch more story there that could be told. And I think that's one of the reasons why I picked it to be the movie that I think deserves a sequel. Also, shout out to Paul Tackett for giving me the idea, because I completely had forgotten about it. I was going to go with something else, but yeah.
Yeah, it looks like Titan Goji's with you. He says Team Scrye. Marq, go ahead. Make your case.
All right, so I make the case for Peppermint because, in my opinion, I don't know who's seen it, who hasn't seen it, but in my humble opinion, this is the Punisher live-action movie that we all deserve but never got. Like, for anybody who doesn't know the story, Jennifer Garner's character, Riley North, she is a suburban mom whose husband becomes the target of cartel violence, which results in his death and the death of their daughter. When she tries to go the normal route through the normal channels to try to get justice for her family, she finds out that the system is extremely corrupt, and there are a number of people within that chain that were not only responsible for her family's death, but also responsible for the killers going free. So she wages a campaign of revenge after several years passing, which is essentially the same story as Frank Castle. In fact, you could take Riley North and change her name to Francine Castle and gender swap and just say it's a gender swap Punisher movie, and I would buy it. I'd be like, dude, that was the best Punisher movie I've ever seen in my life. Yeah.
I mean,
the other thing,
I like the Punisher movies personally. I know they're
I like
bad.
them too. I'm not saying right. I'm not saying that they're bad movies. I like all of them. Yeah. I think Thomas Jane's Punisher is great. I think that Ray Stevenson did a great job. I love the Netflix version with John Barenthal, but none of them, in my opinion, really like nailed it. Like they never really nailed like Frank Castle from the comics the same way that Riley North's character does. In Peppermint, even though it's not intended to be that story. The other reason that I like it is because I really like Jennifer Garner when she does action. Like most people don't, when you think of Jennifer Garner, you think of like 13 Going on 30, you think of like some of the other, like I think she was in Juno, like she plays these very like lighthearted characters, but people forget that she got her start doing action on a TV show called Alias, which is a kick-ass if you have not watched that. So to see her like go back to like true form, to go back to her roots with stuff like that and not miss a beat with it, to me, like that's just the icing on the cake. So that is my that is like my opening argument for this movie.
Didn't she get started with her film action career in Daredevil, and then eventually like she started her own film for Elektra? Wasn't that her? Yep. She was in Daredevil as Elektra Natchios, and then they did a spin-off film after that. Yep, you're right.
Finish him.
Yes. So first and foremost, gentlemen, great opening arguments. You guys have totally convinced me that I need to see these movies. I have not seen any of them. However, let me make my argument for Joker. And I understand when Joker came out, it was written as a standalone movie. But you know what? To counter that, listen, this movie left you with more questions than answers. And the reason why this movie needs a sequel and deserves a sequel, not only that Joaquin Phoenix won the Oscar, not only that this movie made $1 billion on a $50 million budget, the reason why we need a sequel is because we didn't see Arthur Fleck, the Joker, become the Joker that we know. He becomes the Joker, but not the Joker that we know because the Joker is a criminal mastermind. Okay, we didn't get that in this movie. We see that how he gains his following per se, but the one thing, the most beauteous thing about the Joker is that he's a criminal mastermind. He's always one step ahead. I would love to see a sequel. I don't know, maybe 5-10 years later, to where how he escapes from the mental institute and becomes a criminal mastermind, the one that can match wits with Batman. And Joaquin Phoenix is the man to do it, and we need to see another Joker movie, and that is my opening punch for Rage in the Cage.
Excellent first argument.
Yeah, I personally really liked the Joker movie. Like, it's on par. It's actually, I would say, like, if I was to recommend any kind of Batman or any DC movies, like Joker first and then the Dark Knight trilogy.
Yeah.
And like, don't watch anything else. I don't like, I hate to say this, don't even worry about Zack Snyder's stuff. Like, you can't compete with those movies when it comes to their tone, their storytelling, the richness. Great. Yeah. Like, it's going to be hard to compete against the Joker.
Come on, Team J, everybody. Yeah. Team J, come on. I know there's a couple out there for Team Scrye. Let's hear it for Team J. Come on. I need a couple here. Let's go. I mean,
it's a good argument. It's a good argument. Like, I won't front. I would like to see like what happens to him after the events of the first movie.
Yeah.
But one thing that like Todd Phillips did say in an interview is that we don't know for sure that Arthur Fleck is the Joker. Like, we know that, you know, he's told this story and the focus is on him, but we don't, like, I think he's alluding to this idea that maybe this particular character inspires who becomes the Joker. But I don't know that for sure. This is just like what I got from him in an interview that I read. So, but that, even with that information, it would be great to see a second film where that unfolds. So yeah, I do agree with you to a big extent there. That was a really good opening argument there.
By the way, we just want to welcome in Marq Rodriguez is here, and Scott Banks is Team J. Awesome, thank you very much. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I haven't seen the movies you guys are talking about, and I do feel that we don't get enough science fiction nowadays.
Sure.
And then, like I said, I definitely got to check out Peppermint. But the thing is with Jokers, like I said, it leaves with more questions than answers. There's so much room for potential. And you know what? Another thing, too, if you really think about it, there is room to, like, cross this over with the upcoming Pattinson Batman. Possibly. I'm not saying they should or will. I'm just saying, like, there are so many avenues you could take with this movie. I know it's a standalone movie, but there's so many different directions you could go in with this film. And I just feel like this is why it needs a sequel badly. I mean, there's so many movies that need a sequel, but this one is the one I'm leaning hard on for sure.
You know what's really interesting about all three choices here is that they all have to do with the little guy.
Yeah.
Yep. And they almost got like a revenge thing. Yeah.
That's a good observation. Yeah. You're right.
Every single one of these has to do with the little guy and bad things happening to them and them coming, you know, like doing whatever it takes to help all the other little guys out.
Yeah.
To a degree. So I think that's really interesting about the three different choices. I haven't seen Peppermint. I have seen Joker, but I am familiar with Alias and Jennifer Garner's work and stuff like that. And phenomenal actress. I wish she was in more stuff. Like, why couldn't they have her be Captain Marvel instead of?
Yeah, actually, yeah, she would have been great.
She would have been so much better as Captain Marvel. Anyway.
We got another Brie Larson hater, I guess.
I don't mind. By the way, thank you, Cindy. Mark's wife, Cindy, says Team J.
Oh, man.
I think it's the first time I ever won her over.
Cindy, I thought you liked Peppermint. Like, we watched it together. I guess not. I guess I'm the only one.
Like, I guess the thing for District 9 for me to compete is Joker tells, and even with Peppermint, from what you were explaining, they're solo focused on one individual, where, you know, District 9 is more of it's a broader scope. There's a lot more, what's the word, scale to it.
Sure.
You know? And there's a lot more people involved. You see, like, the African cartels that are, like, hoarding the prawn technology and stuff, and how they had to, like, get paid off, and then they ended up fighting back against the government. Like, it's just one of those. You could literally pull the skin off of them being aliens and insert this ethnic group in there, and it's telling.
That's what I got off of it too. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And so I'm just like, that's why, like, that's what makes it so impactful. And the thing is, I feel like when it came out, a lot of people just didn't see that. A lot of people didn't see what it was representing. You know, how every single, to a degree, almost every single, like, ethnic group in the world at one point or another was entrapped and enslaved or put in a camp or something and used as labor force to build something or do something like that. And then eventually, you know, the Exodus happens and Moses shows up and, for let my people go. And so, like, that's kind of like what this was. And I thought it was like, I feel like if aliens were to actually
show up
appear to us,
you
know, like, if they were to be real, like, this is exactly what we would do to them as a human species. And it's kind of terrifying to think about it. So, but I think that it didn't, I just feel like it didn't get enough, attention and more appropriately the attention that it deserved, because it was an alien flick, you know what I mean? Because it was a sci-fi flick, and that's very unfortunate. And I'm not like knocking Joker. Joker's awesome, and I haven't seen Peppermint, but so I can't really say anything like that. But it was so underrated, and it's one of those movies that could be a hit, could be in the history books, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that just to piggyback off of what you said about this movie, I guess I'm the only one that saw all three.
That's what I'm saying. You've seen all three. Adam's seen two, and I've seen one. So it's just like,
yeah.
oh,
So to sort of like add to what Adam is saying, I think that part of the part of the reason why, like, I guess people didn't like connect with District 9 or even like see it, there weren't as many people that saw it as should, is because it was marketed as like this sci-fi, like this alien kind of a film where the meat and potatoes of the actual movie are very human, right? Like if you think about the fact that it's set in South Africa, and given the very recent history of apartheid there and how people were treated, based off the color of their skin, and how, all the things that sort of happened with the aliens in that, like you said, you could sort of rip the skin off them and just replace them with like an ethnic group or people from a different region. And it plays exactly the same. It actually really is like a brilliant film. It's a really good film. But I think the problem was that it wasn't really explained to people who weren't like familiar with the concept. It was just like, here's this film about alien. This alien is essentially in love with this human, and like it wasn't really like broken down in a digestible way for people to where they would want to go see it. You know what I mean? Like that in my opinion, that's what caused it to not really get the splash that it deserved.
Absolutely. It's kind of like, it reminds me of how the Avatar, the movie, what's his name? James Cameron's Avatar.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Like, everybody, I love that movie. I watched it several times in theaters, and I remember when it came out on DVD, I watched it every night for a month. That movie was so good, but it was the same. It's the same kind of story where the humans are the bad guys,
right.
And this is a whole nother group of sentient beings that were treading on their land and doing all this stuff, and that's how it was marketed. That's why it was so successful.
Right.
It wasn't just because of the special effects, but it was because of the story that was told. And that's what they marketed, was the story. They didn't market the special effects.
Right.
And unfortunately, District 9, very similar, very, very similar concept. And it just wasn't marketed correctly, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep. You're right about that.
Before I get to my last punch in here, I just want to point out something in the chat.
Well, I never got my second punch.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, real quick, Paul in the chat says he's not seen Peppermint or Joaquin Phoenix Joker. I'm shocked by that, because Paul is the dude that's seen everything. Paul has seen everything.
If I had to pick somebody who like this guy's definitely seen like all three movies, I would have picked Paul Tackett.
I know.
For sure.
All right, so Mark, get your closing argument, and I'll get my closing argument.
All right, so real quick, like what I'll say about this movie, the other thing I'll say about Peppermint is that the way that the action and the stunts are developed in this movie, they put it on par with just about any other action movie out there. In fact, you could take Riley North and drop her right into the John Wick universe. You could drop her right into Hobbs and Shaw. You could drop her right into the MCU. You could drop her right into Atomic Blonde. And she would fit into all of those. Taken. As a matter of fact, the director from Taken, Pierre Morel, directed Peppermint.
Oh,
and Don Lee, who did the stunt coordination and fight coordination for the Daredevil TV series, did all the stunt coordination for this. So it kind of gives you an idea of the level of like action and the quality of the action in this. Also, it's set up perfectly. I'm not going to give away the ending because apparently I'm the only one that's seen it here. But it is set up perfectly for a sequel. Not only for a sequel, but it's set up to where it really could be its own franchise. You could really make 4 or 5 of these movies and have Raleigh North be a part of the normal film lexicon if they really wanted to. And I suspect that over time they will probably get to that point.
I just want to know, at any point in the movie, does she go, I have a particular set of skills? Skills.
That would be amazing if she did.
That actually, now I'm actually more intrigued to watch this because the Taken movies were really good.
They were great.
Both of you gentlemen sold me on these movies. I might have to make time. I'm on vacation still for another 4 days, so I might have to make time to add these to my watch list and find them. Before I get to my closing argument, everybody in the chat, please recommend some movies for us. What standalone movie needs a sequel? I already see Paul says Ghost in the Shell. So everybody, if there's a movie out there that needs a sequel, say it in the chat right now. Again, I'm just to reiterate my closing argument about Joker is it's just really unfortunate that the DC extended universe is all kind of mumbo jumbo right now because you got Snyder wants to finish his story. The DC executives want to go in another direction. And they want to do these standalone movies. But the thing is, what Joker did for Batman was so refreshing. I know, I hate to say this, Batman's been done so many goddamn times, it drives me nuts. Because DC has so many great properties, that they need to, bring in or expand upon. That being said, what Joker did for Batman was just, was refreshing. It was awesome. I didn't even see it coming. And it'd be a damn shame if they abandoned that timeline. Please, Warner Brothers, if you see this, Joaquin Phoenix, if you see this, please, give us one more. Team J all the way, baby. Everybody in the chat, who do you got? Team J, Team Scrye, Team Marq. Let us know.
I do want to say something about the Joker movie. If they did make a sequel to it, I would totally want to see it from the perspective of Joker, not necessarily it giving us away what he was planning and stuff, but just imagine, whenever you watch one of the superhero movies, you always see what's going on from the perspective of the heroes, then the bad guy's doing this, bad guy's doing that. Well, flip it and see Joker's going in to rob a bank or whatever, and everything seems like it's going smoothly, and then Batman just appears randomly, and he's not even in the movie.
They did with Suicide Squad a little, but it just wasn't executed too well. Maybe the James Gunn Suicide Squad, however, we're gonna get that hopefully. But yeah, no, I agree. I would love to see, like you said, Joker versus Batman from the perspective of the Joker.
Yeah. One thing that I really loved about, I don't know if you guys are, I'm a huge cartoon nerd, so I'm really into Batman the Animated Series, and the first episode that I saw of that was an episode with Mr. Freeze, and what really intrigued me about it was that almost the entire episode was told from his point of view. Yes. It wasn't told from Batman's point of view. And I just found that super compelling. And I wish that if, like Adam's saying, if there were more films that told the story from more of maybe not a villain perspective, but maybe an anti-hero perspective, because every villain doesn't know.
Rock at him. Remember that?
all the good villains, they don't even realize they're villains, right? They think they're the good guy. Right. They think they're the good guy. So, tell the story from that perspective and show us the superhero from the antagonist point of view. I would really love to see more of that.
Okay, I'm looking at the chat right now. I have a feeling this was a fixed fight. Adam must have been planning this all week, saying, hey, you guys got to go into Rage in the Cage and say Team Scrye, okay? And he's probably slipping people money. I think it was a fixed fight. I think Adam just brought his whole army of, Team Scryes to, try to win this fight, because I see a lot of Team Scryes in the chat. Real quick, though, in the chat, Eon Lewis, shout out to Eon Lewis. He picked an interesting one. He says The Fifth Element needs a sequel.
Oh.
That was going to be the one that I was going to pick before Paul recommended District 9, and it brought up my memories of District 9. I was actually, I remember telling Jay months ago, I was I'm thinking I might go with Fifth Element because that had a very open ending, what happens next kind of thing. But yeah, The Fifth Element, it's so it's I'm not saying it's like the best acting or anything like that, but it was so revolutionary with the story that it was telling, with the characters that it had. Like, come on, Chris Tucker, the guy that did that played Dracula, I can't remember his name. He was in the Dark Knight trilogy. He was playing the dude with like half his head shaved or whatever. He was like the main bad guy. I can't remember his name. And obviously Bruce Willis is doing this thing, and this was Mila Jovovich.
I love her.
This was her like debut.
No, she was in Dazed and Confused before she was in Fifth Element.
Was she?
Yeah, but this was the one that like shot her into stardom as an action hero.
Yeah. No, yeah, it wasn't her first movie, she was in a couple other movies before Fifth Element. But these are, like I said, I would love to see Fifth Element get a sequel, because think about the updated special effects that we could get. Like, look what they did with Blade Runner. Like, imagine if the Fifth Element got that same treatment, 20 some odd years later. Like, that could be really rad, for real.
Yeah.
And plus, come on, Bruce Willis is the man, dude. Come on. And I feel like, and another thing is, can we all agree that for whatever reason, I can't put my finger on it, but I feel like Bruce Willis has been in a rut. Like, these past few years.
Death Wish was not good, man.
Like, yeah, these past few years, like, he's been doing these straight to DVD or straight to streaming movies that are not good. Like, I feel like if he does either a proper Die Hard sequel or a Fifth Element sequel could really elevate him again. And I would love to see Bruce Willis be elevated again before he calls it a day.
I kind of feel like... Go ahead, I'm sorry.
The actor I was trying to remember was Gary Coleman or Gary Oldman.
Oldman.
Gary Oldman, yeah.
That's who it was. That was playing
that
guy.
Everyone in chat's like,
you're right.
So yeah.
No, but about Bruce Willis, what I was going to say is that, like, not to really shade him or anything like that, but it kind of seems to me like he's not like really trying in any of his newer stuff. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not like the Bruce Willis of old, where you get him, you get characters like in Unbreakable or in Pulp Fiction that are, where there's like a high care level from him in terms of his acting. Like, everything that I've seen from him recently just seems like he's kind of phoning it in anyway. So
it's almost like he's using his fame. Like, he's like being put in these movies, like, give me my paycheck. I'm going to sell this movie because I'm Bruce Willis. Doesn't even matter what the movie's about. I hate when that happens.
Before we get out of the cage, man, just real quick, Scott Bannock has an interesting pick. Waterworld Part 2.
Oh, no. I veto that.
That's why I'm wearing the goggles.
Well, yeah, just let us know, Team Marq, Team Scrye, Team J. A lot of people seem to be pulling for Team Scrye today, but, like, let us know what movie deserves a sequel, and what movie, if you guys want to see more sequels to the movies that we just talked about, hey, let us know.
Ooh, trying to get out of the NerdCage, are ya? Well, before you go, hit that subscribe button. And if you're really intrigued, ring that bell. Thank you for dropping by. Until next time, tell everyone you know about NerdCage Live!